This script is designed for a 20-minute solo podcast episode, approximately 6,000 words. To ensure you get the best quality and can easily manage the AI voice generation, I have broken this into Part 1. Once you have processed this, let me know, and I will generate Part 2 to complete the 20-minute runtime. Podcast script: The Silent Revolution. Imagine walking into a room. The music is pulsing, the laughter is loud, and the air is thick with the energy of 100 people networking, pitching, and performing. In this room, the person speaking the loudest is the one getting the most attention. The one who thinks on their feet is the one labeled a leader. Now imagine there is another person in that same room. They are standing near the edge, observing, listening, and thinking deeply. In our modern world, we often view that second person as checked out or lacking confidence. But what if I told you that this person, the introvert, is actually the one holding the secret key to innovation, deep creativity, and the kind of leadership our world is starving for? Welcome to the power of quiet. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today, we are exploring a book that didn't just top the bestseller lists, it started a global movement. We are talking about Susan Cain's masterpiece, Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. Whether you are the person who thrives at a party or the one who needs 3 days of solitude to recover from a brunch, this episode is for you. By the end of our time today, we're going to dismantle the extrovert ideal, explore the fascinating science of the highly sensitive brain, and learn why the most powerful thing you can do in a loud world is simply be yourself. We'll look at why some of our greatest achievements, from the Apple computer to the theory of relativity, were born not in brainstorming sessions, but in solitude. Let's start with a confession. Most of us live under a specific kind of pressure. Susan Cain calls it the extrovert ideal. It's the omnipresent belief that the ideal self is gregarious, alpha, and comfortable in the spotlight. We see it in our schools, where desks are arranged in pods for collaboration from age 5. We see it in our offices, where open-plan layouts strip away privacy in the name of synergy. If you aren't out there, you're in your shell. But here's the kicker. At least 1/3 to 1/2 of the people you know are introverts. That's 1 out of every 2 or 3 people. This means that a huge portion of our population is living in a system that is fundamentally designed against their natural strengths. Think about the character of Rosa Parks. We often hear the story of her refusal to give up her bus seat as a moment of warrior-like defiance. But Susan Cain reminds us that Rosa Parks was, by all accounts, a quiet, soft-spoken woman. When she died, the obituaries described her as timid and shy, yet possessing the fortitude of a lion. Her quietness wasn't a weakness, it was her power. It was the contrast between her radical act and her gentle nature that made her such a potent symbol. This brings us to the core tension of the book, the difference between introversion and shyness. This is a big one, so let's get it straight. Shyness is the fear of social disapproval or humiliation. It's painful. Introversion, however, is a preference for environments that are not overstimulating. It's about how you respond to stimulation. An extrovert's nervous system is like a rechargeable battery that needs the plug of social interaction to fill up. An introvert's battery is already full. Social interaction is the use of that energy. They don't hate people, they just reach their limit faster. Before we dive into the Harvard Business School culture and the science of the highly sensitive brain, let's take a quick breather. If you've ever felt like you had to fake it to get ahead, or if you're an extrovert trying to understand why your partner needs a quiet night in, you're going to love the rest of this episode. If you're finding these insights helpful, please take 10 seconds to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating. It helps us keep the lights on and the microphones hot. And if you're an introvert listening to this, don't worry, you don't have to leave a comment if you don't want to. A silent like is more than enough. Now, let's talk about the rise of the mighty extrovert. Susan Cain takes us back in time. We used to live in a culture of character, where what mattered was who you were in private, your honor, your discipline, your soul. But around the turn of the 20th century, we shifted to a culture of personality. As people moved from small towns to big cities, they started working for big corporations. Suddenly, you weren't being judged by your neighbors who knew your family history. You were being judged by strangers in a job interview. You had to sell yourself. You had to be magnetic. This shift changed everything, from how we parent to how we promote. Susan actually visited a Harvard Business School seminar to see this in action. She describes an environment where participation is a huge part of the grade. If you don't speak up, you don't exist. The leaders are the ones who speak first, even if they don't have the best ideas. There is a terrifying concept called the new groupthink, the idea that creativity and intellectual achievement comes from a social place. But the research says otherwise. Research shows that brainstorming in groups actually results in fewer and lower quality ideas when people work alone and then share. Why? Because of social loafing and the fear of looking stupid. So if you're an introvert who feels guilty for wanting to work in a quiet corner with your headphones on, stop. You aren't being antisocial, you are being productive. You are following the path of deliberate practice. Whether it's playing the violin or coding a new app, the best way to master a skill is to do it alone. That's where you can focus on the stretch tasks that are just beyond your current ability. You can't do that in a meeting where everyone is talking over each other. Let's look at the science. It's not just in your head, it's in your biology. Cain discusses the work of Jerome Kagan, a famous developmental psychologist. He studied infants and found that some babies were highly reactive. If they heard a loud noise or saw a bright balloon, they would kick their arms and cry. You might think these fussy babies would grow up to be extroverts, right? Wrong. They became the introverts. Their nervous systems were so sensitive to the world that they became cautious. The low-reactive babies, the ones who didn't care about the loud noises, grew up to be the extroverts. They needed more stimulation just to feel normal. This means that introversion is often linked to being a highly sensitive person. You notice the subtle shifts in someone's tone of voice. You notice the flickering fluorescent light that everyone else ignores. You feel things deeply. In a survival sense, the extroverts are the scouts. They go out, they hunt, they take risks. The introverts are the lookouts. They notice the danger. They plan for the winter. They keep the tribe from doing something reckless. We need both. A tribe of only scouts will walk off a cliff. A tribe of only lookouts will starve to death.
Let's dismantle one of the biggest myths in the corporate world, the idea that the best leaders are always the extroverts. We've been conditioned to think that a CEO must be a chest-thumping, charismatic orator. But Adam Grant, a professor at Wharton, conducted a fascinating study that turned this on its head. He found that introverted leaders often deliver even better results than extroverts, depending on who they're managing. If you have a team of proactive employees, people who are self-starters and full of ideas, an extroverted leader can actually be a liability. Why? Because an extroverted leader tends to be so busy putting their own stamp on things that they inadvertently squash the initiatives of others. They talk over the team. In contrast, the introverted leader is more likely to listen, to process, and to let their talented employees run with their ideas. Think of it as the servant leader model. They aren't interested in the spotlight, they're interested in the results. So if you're a quiet person who thinks you can't lead because you don't like making speeches, remember, your ability to listen is your greatest competitive advantage. But what about those times when you have to be on? We all have those moments, the big presentation, the wedding toast, the high-stakes negotiation. Susan Cain introduces a concept from Professor Brian Little called free trait theory. This is the idea that we are born with certain personality traits, but we can act out of character for the sake of core restorative projects. This means you can be an introvert who acts like an extrovert for something you love. If you're a quiet scientist who cares deeply about climate change, you will find the strength to stand on a stage and speak to 1,000 people. You aren't faking it, you are stretching your personality to serve your values. However, and this is the crucial part, you can only stretch so far before you snap. This is why you need restorative niches. A restorative niche is a place you go to return to your true self. For an introvert, this might be a quiet office, a walk in the park, or even a bathroom stall at a loud conference. It's a place where you can stop performing and let your nervous system settle down. If you don't build these niches into your life, you will burn out. High-achieving introverts aren't people who have fixed their introversion. They're people who have learned exactly how much they can stretch and exactly when they need to retreat. Now let's talk about relationships. If you've ever seen a quiet extrovert couple, you've seen the classic Friday night struggle. The extrovert wants to go to a party to recharge after a long week, while the introvert wants to stay on the couch to recharge. It's easy for the extrovert to feel rejected and the introvert to feel pressured. Cain's advice here is life-changing. Acknowledge the biological difference. It's not about love, it's about neurobiology. The best couples learn to negotiate. Maybe they go to the party for 2 hours, but they take 2 cars so the introvert can leave early. Or maybe the extrovert goes alone and the introvert enjoys the blissful silence of an empty house. Once you stop viewing your partner's temperament as a personal attack, you can start appreciating the balance you bring to each other. To my fellow parents out there, this book has a powerful message for you too. If you have a child who is high reactive, the one who hangs back at the birthday party or likes to play alone, don't pathologize it. They aren't shy in a way that needs to be cured. They're simply taking in more information than the other kids. They are processing the world at a deeper level. Don't push them to be the social butterfly. Instead, help them find their sweet spot. Support their deep interests, whether it's coding, drawing, or reading. When you celebrate an introverted child's inner world, you give them the confidence to eventually share that world with others on their own terms. As we move toward the end of this deep dive, let's look at the quiet toolkit for the year 2026. We live in an era of constant digital noise. Social media is basically a 24/7 extroversion machine. But the world is starting to realize that we are losing something precious in the noise. We're losing the ability to sit with a problem for hours without looking for a like or a share. So here is your Power of Quiet cheat sheet. First, honor your sweet spot. This is the level of stimulation that feels right for you. If you're at a desk in a loud office and you can't think, don't blame yourself, blame the environment. Find a way to get the quiet you need to do your best work. Second, practice the power of the pause. In meetings, don't feel the need to fill the silence. Often, the person who speaks last, after listening to everyone else, is the one who says the most important thing. Third, respect your restorative niches. Don't apologize for needing alone time. It's not a luxury, it's your fuel. You wouldn't apologize for needing to charge your brain. Don't apologize for needing to charge your brain. And finally, if you're an extrovert, look for the quiet ones in your life. Ask them what they think, not in a big meeting, but over a coffee. You might find that they've already solved the problem you've been shouting about for a week. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a journey from the biology of a baby's brain to the boardrooms of the world's biggest companies. Susan Cain's Quiet is more than a book. It's a permission slip. It's permission to be exactly who you are, whether that's the life of the party or the person watching from the balcony. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with one person, maybe that friend who always leaves the party early, or that boss who needs to hear that silence isn't a lack of ideas. Until next time, remember, there's a massive difference between being all talk and having something to say. Stay curious, stay thoughtful, and most importantly, stay quiet when you need to.